someone you love is gone. The body is there, but the person isn't, and you don't know what to do with that. That feeling, the strange, suspended moment when a death has just happened, is one of the most human experiences that exists. But here's what almost no one stops to ask. Where did that feeling come from? And what did humans actually do with it before civilization told them how to grieve? The answer reaches back more than 300,000 years, and it rewrites almost everything you think you know about death, ritual, and what it means to be human. In 2015, deep inside a cave system in South Africa called Rising Star, a team of researchers led by paleoanthropologist Lee Berger made a discovery that shook the field of human origins. They found the bones of a creature called Homo naledi, a species with a brain roughly 1/3 the size of yours, a species that, by every conventional measure, should have been too primitive to think about death in any meaningful way. And yet those bones were not scattered. They were not dragged there by predators. They had been deliberately carried into the deepest, darkest chamber of the cave and placed there. Not one body, many, over what appeared to be a long period of time. Homo naledi buried its dead, or something close enough to burying that the distinction barely matters. This was not supposed to be possible. For decades, anthropologists assumed that death ritual, the deliberate treatment of a body after death, was the exclusive property of anatomically modern humans. It was considered a cognitive milestone, a sign of abstract thinking, of belief in something beyond the physical. You had to be smart enough to imagine an afterlife before you could bother with a funeral. Homo naledi broke that assumption completely, but naledi was not alone. Push further back, and the evidence multiplies in ways that are harder and harder to dismiss. At Atapuerca in Spain, archaeologists discovered a pit called the Cima de los Huesos, the Pit of Bones. More than 400,000 years ago, an early human species, likely Homo heidelbergensis, carried the bodies of their dead to the edge of a natural shaft and dropped them in. 28 individuals, all in the same place, all treated the same way. At the bottom of the shaft, a single hand axe was found, a beautifully crafted tool placed there deliberately, an object that had no practical use once it was thrown into the dark. Something was being communicated. To whom or to what, we cannot know. What these discoveries tell us is that death ritual is not a product of civilization. It is not something humans invented when they had enough leisure time to philosophize. It appears to be something far older than language, far older than religion, possibly older than our own species. It may be woven into what it means to be human at a biological level, an instinct to do something when someone is gone, even when there is no cultural script telling you what that something should be. By the time you reach the Neanderthals, somewhere between 130,000 and 60,000 years ago, the evidence becomes harder to argue with. At Shanidar Cave in Iraq, a Neanderthal burial was excavated in the 1950s by archaeologist Ralph Solecki. The soil around the body contained concentrations of pollen from multiple plant species: yarrow, groundsel, grape hyacinth. Solecki proposed that flowers had been placed with the dead. The interpretation was contested for decades, but subsequent analysis, including work published in the journal Nature in the 1990s and revisited again in 2023 following new excavations, continued to find evidence consistent with intentional placement of organic material near Neanderthal remains. Whatever the exact interpretation, Neanderthals were not simply discarding their dead, they were doing something with them. Now here is where it gets strange. Because when you look at modern human burials across cultures that had no contact with each other, separated by oceans and thousands of years, you find the same patterns appearing again and again. Objects placed with the dead, bodies oriented in a specific direction, the use of red ochre, a mineral pigment, scattered across graves from Europe to Africa to Australia, a color that appears to have meant something about life or blood or transition to virtually every ancient human population. independently. The counterintuitive finding is this: the more you study ancient death ritual, the less it looks like something humans developed because of religion, and the more it looks like religion developed because of something humans were already doing. The ritual came first, the explanation came later. Anthropologist Paul Pettitt, who has spent decades cataloging Paleolithic mortuary behavior, argues that what we are seeing in these early sites is not belief, it is attachment. The same neurological system that makes you feel pain when you lose someone, the system that generates grief, appears to be the same system that compels action. Doing something with the body is not a theological statement. It is the physical expression of a brain that cannot simply walk away. Your brain, specifically, right now. Think about the last time you attended a funeral or a memorial, or even just heard news of a death and felt the urge to call someone, to go somewhere, to light a candle, to say a name out loud. That compulsion is not cultural programming. It runs deeper than culture. It is older than any religion that exists on Earth today. You are not performing a ritual because society told you to. You are performing it because something inside you, something that was already present in creatures who never used language, who never built a house, who lived in caves in the dark, demands that a death be marked. That is not a learned behavior. It is an inheritance. The Paleolithic humans who carried their dead into the Cima de los Huesos did not have funerals the way you do. They did not have hymns or eulogies or funeral homes, but they had the same problem you have. Someone was gone. The body was there. And they did not know what to do with that. So they did something, the same thing you do. The next time you stand at a graveside, or hold a candle, or feel the strange compulsion to mark a loss, you are not just honoring the person who died. You are repeating a gesture that is at least 400,000 years old. You are part of a chain of human beings, stretching back before language, before fire was mastered, before the first city was built, all of whom looked at a body and felt the exact same thing you feel. And none of them walked away without doing something about it.